October 28th, just before dawn, Donetsk's silence was shattered. What began as faint radar echoes quickly turned into a storm of flashing alerts across Ukrainian command screens. A massive swarm of drones built in North Korea and guided by Russian operators had entered the skies. Within minutes, it became one of the most expensive failures in Russia's war. $920 million worth of drones wiped out before sunrise. Radar operators in eastern Ukraine first noticed the irregular signals early this morning. The drones weren't flying in typical patterns. Some hovered low and slow, others darted in sharp turns at higher altitudes, a deliberate tactic meant to overwhelm Ukraine's radars and air defenses. The swarm mixed reconnaissance drones with explosive-laden kamikaze models. The goal was simple: flood the defenses, hide the real attackers, and break through Ukraine's shield. But that day, Ukraine was ready. Over the past year, the country's air defense network has evolved into a web of sensors, radars, and artificial intelligence-driven prediction systems. Western-supplied radar units now work side by side with Ukrainian-built command software. Together, they form an automated response grid capable of tracking and targeting hundreds of moving objects at once. As soon as the incoming swarm was detected, algorithms began calculating likely flight paths, altitudes, and timing. Operators received predicted interception zones even before they could see the drones with their eyes. Moments later, rocket batteries locked. Mobile anti-drone teams rolled into position. Ground-based jammers powered up, forming invisible walls of interference. The first wave of cheap North Korean decoys fell quickly. The real strike units, carrying high-explosive warheads, lost synchronization as the jamming disrupted their communication links. The sky erupted with tracer fire and explosions as Ukrainian missiles and artillery shredded the formation. By morning, the assault had collapsed. Black smoke drifted over fields outside Donetsk, where hundreds of destroyed drones lay scattered. Ukrainian engineers moved through the wreckage, collecting pieces for analysis. What they found confirmed what intelligence agencies had suspected for months. The fuselages bore North Korean factory codes, while circuit boards carried Russian software overlays. Some components were crudely refitted, showing how Russian technicians had modified them inside occupied territories. It was undeniable proof that Russia was now relying on imported weapons assembled on site, a desperate measure exposing its dependence on foreign partners. The operation had been designed as a show of strength. Instead, it revealed weakness. For months, Moscow and Pyongyang had deepened their cooperation, exchanging missiles, drones, and ammunition for oil, food, and access to Russian technology. But this joint drone project turned into an embarrassment. Ukrainian defense officials confirmed the hybrid systems were fundamentally flawed. Russian navigation modules didn't align with North Korea's guidance software. The result was chaos in the skies, drones veering off course, losing altitude, or colliding mid-air. On October 27th, the same partnership had been touted in Russian and North Korean media as proof of a new strategic bond. Today, it stands as evidence of failure. What was meant to be a precision strike became a costly disaster that exposed the limits of Moscow's alliances. Within hours, NATO and Ukrainian scientists were already examining the remains. Samples were flown abroad for analysis. Western experts quickly confirmed that several drone designs matched those previously seen at North Korean test sites. The markings and engineering details were unmistakable. Moscow's denials of foreign-supplied weaponry collapsed under physical proof. The political aftershocks spread fast. This afternoon, the United Nations called an emergency meeting to address evidence of North Korean weapons being used in Europe. In Washington and Brussels, officials discussed tightening sanctions on Pyongyang's arms trade. Even Beijing expressed concern over what it called unauthorized military cooperation. For Ukraine, today's victory became a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. The air defense operation represented a perfect blend of local innovation and global support. Western radar systems, Ukrainian AI software, and disciplined crews worked in seamless coordination. It wasn't just a military success. It was a technological statement. Ukraine had managed to defeat one of the most complex aerial assaults since the start of the war. Intercepted Russian communications revealed panic in their command centers. Officers were caught off guard by the total failure. Their strategy had been built on the belief that Ukraine's defenses were too thin to repel a multi-vector drone raid. Instead, they watched millions of dollars burn in the sky. The fallout was immediate: disciplinary measures, frantic damage control, and a temporary halt to new drone operations in the east. In Pyongyang, silence fell yesterday evening. State media, which had just celebrated the technological might of North Korea's drones, abruptly changed tone. Analysts noticed a freeze in announcements about cooperation with Russia. Sources said engineers in North Korea were scrambling to explain the failure to their leadership. But the truth was plain. Their technology had not failed from sabotage or luck. It failed because it was rushed, incompatible, and poorly tested. For months, Russia's partnerships with countries like Iran and North Korea have been framed as a new era of cooperation. Today's disaster revealed the truth. These alliances are built on necessity, not strength. Sanctions and shortages have forced Moscow into deals with partners who can provide quantity, not quality. Each imported system carries hidden weaknesses, unreliable logistics, and no transparency. The financial damage from the failed operation is staggering. For North Korea, it represents nearly 15% of its annual defense export capacity. For Russia, it is a painful reminder that outsourcing weapon production is unsustainable. Every destroyed drone chips away at the illusion of self-sufficiency that the Kremlin tries to maintain. Ukraine wasted no time turning failure into an advantage. Officials presented images of the wreckage, blackened components marked with North Korean codes, fragments of Russian navigation modules, sending a clear message. Russia's war effort is now powered by rogue states, and Ukraine just exposed it to the world. On the front lines, soldiers shared videos of the burning wreckage, cheering the precision of their defenses. Civilians across Ukraine, long accustomed to fear during nightly drone attacks, found a rare moment of pride. The message spread online. Today, Ukraine stands. Western analysts quickly labeled it the 429 lesson. The takeaway: advanced data-driven defense systems can defeat mass-produced threats when speed, coordination, and intelligence are aligned. NATO strategists are now studying today's events as a case study for modern warfare. Inside Moscow, the incident deepened existing fractures. Blame shifted between the Ministry of Defense and private contractors. Some accused commanders of deploying drones too soon. Others faulted engineers for flawed programming. Behind closed doors, officials admitted the truth. Their reliance on foreign systems is now a liability. Even Russia's propaganda struggled to contain the damage. State media called the loss a limited test, but satellite images told another story. The world had seen what happened. Across Asia, yesterday's silence turned to alarm. South Korea and Japan condemned North Korea's involvement and increased surveillance of its export routes. Analysts noted that the destroyed drones closely resembled prototypes from North Korean parades, proving that the war is doubling as a live weapons testing ground. For Ukraine, today marks a turning point. Defense companies are already discussing joint anti-drone production within their borders. The country is no longer just a battlefield, it's a proving ground for modern warfare. Its engineers have learned through necessity, refining systems in real combat that even NATO can learn from. As the sunset fades today over Donetsk's smoldering fields, the silence feels different. Not fearful, but victorious. What was meant to be a devastating strike has become a symbol of collapse. Scorched drone fragments and blackened soil are all that remain of Moscow's grand experiment. The 429 incident will be remembered not for destruction, but for revelation. A collision of outdated aggression with adaptive defense. It proved that resilience is not just endurance, but evolution under fire. Today, Ukraine reminded the world, even in the darkest hours, intelligence and determination can outshine brute force.